Okay, so Agatha All Along, episode 1, was, in a word, very weird. And I watched the ending of WandaVision, so I have and I saw Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and I was still very confused. So it starts off with Agnes driving to a crime scene where she is playing the part of the rogue cop who is currently suspended, but just so happens to be the only one who can solve a murder case. So we meet Herb, and they're discussing the case, and it's obviously Wanda's body, and trying to figure out what happened to her. First finding out who she is, and then what happened. So she goes back. I mean, you could tell that something is eating at her, but she doesn't know what. And then we meet Rio Vidal, who is coming to help with the case because she's a Fed. And so she is kind of hinting at the fact that Agnes isn't actually Agnes, but Agatha, and that she's a witch. But she's being very covert about it. Probably because even when she mentions magic later on in the show, Agnes just laughs it off that magic doesn't exist. So she's trying to feel out Agatha to see. Now, it sounds like they have a previous relationship. It's a very, what I could tell at the end, a very toxic one. So, as they are talking in her house, there's these very strange edits, like we're missing part of the story, and we find out later why. So she's at her house and she hears something, and now Rio doesn't go with Agatha to help her at all. She's chasing someone who broke into her house. Now, considering Rio doesn't come to help, and the conversation in the interrogation room, it leads you to believe that they're working together. So, apparently, it turns out that the townsfolk are aware of Agatha being stuck in this state. And Billy, I'm not going to call him that kid or teen or whatever. We know he's Billy. Billy is the person who's trying to break into her house. And she's showing him a picture of the victim, in this case Wanda. And Billy is like, what are you talking about? These are flowers. Now, for those who are aware of who Billy Maximoff is, he is the son of Wanda, and he has her powers. He has the power of reality warping. So at this point, you wonder, did he do that? Or is she, as we found out later, going through a true crime phase? And so the pictures she's showing isn't actually true. That it was only Billy's suggestion that these aren't what she says that they are, that makes her realize that things are not what she thought. She is not a true crimes detective. The pictures she was showing were just flowers, and because Billy is not isn't humoring her in her spell, whether it's because he doesn't know she's under a spell, or because that's just, he's just totally confused as to, what's happening. Now, my question at this point is, how is it? I would have thought that if Wanda were dead, that any of her spells would just go kaput. But she's still stuck in the spell. So Billy, shows her that it's just a picture of flowers, and that what she thought was someone standing behind the one-way looking glass, which was her talking to Rio Vidal, that was just a painting. So, which makes you wonder, is Rio also not necessarily a figment of her imagination? We find out later she isn't. But that Rio, the one that, but then again, she's also a witch, so maybe she was able to, look through the way Agatha thought she was looking through the glass. I don't know. Which, it was supposed to be a one-way looking glass. Those are how interrogations usually go. That, the people can't see out, but yet Rio was, like, let's not do that. So, yeah, not a one-way looking glass. And, so then Billy starts chanting something. And she just thinks it's weird. So she arrests him and puts him in the tank. And then she goes to the morgue. I should say the morgue, where she doesn't see any bodies, and suddenly she's mentioning, the physical description of Wanda, and suddenly she appears on one of the tables. And she sees her hair is scarlet. She's starting to get it. She's looking at the library card, and she sees W. Maximo. And then suddenly we see Rio Vidal telling her to claw out, that she had gone to the library earlier, and she sees copies of the book that are destroyed. And it turns out it's the Darkhold. So obviously she's been trying to get out this whole time, and hence her true crimes situation, because she's slowly, the spell is weakening. And so she's so close to figuring out that it's the Darkhold. And then, like I said, Billy chants something. And then Rio tells her to claw out of the spell. That because Wanda died, she and destroyed the Darkhold, she left Agatha in this, under this spell, which, okay, I would think that would destroy the spell, but whatever. Especially since she did not use the Darkhold to do this. But anyway, so she hears thumping, finds out that Billy is locked in a closet, which, I don't know, the man has reality warping powers, or maybe he doesn't realize the full extent of his powers, because there were so many times when he could have easily either gotten away, or in the case of being locked in this storage closet in Agatha's house, where he could have escaped. So I'm guessing he doesn't know the full extent of his powers, just that he has some. So, and then as she's about to go to him and maybe let him go and find out, it's like, yeah, I guess that arrest thing was more of a kidnapping. And then we have the trope of witches performing witchcraft naked, because she's completely naked after she crawls out of the spell. She's in her house. Rio is nowhere to be found. We see Billy. So obviously the precinct, everything was basically her walking around her house. Or possibly also the next door neighbors, because Dottie and the police chief are husband and wife living next door. And she is just screaming, like, where am I? What's going on? Completely ignoring the fact that she's completely naked. And she talks to Herb, who's trying to be polite and not look at her. And he even tries to take his shirt and try to put it on her so, she's at least somewhat covered. Which, her hair is already covering her breasts. The part you need to cover is the bottom part, but whatever. And he's even trying to tell her, yeah, we were just humoring you. We were just trying to help you through this true crimes phase that you had. And she asked him, how long have I been here? 3 years. And she is just apoplectic. She is just so annoyed. Because in her fantasy, there was Nicholas Scratch, her son, which is true. In the comics, she had a son, Nicholas Scratch. But, and it would have been interesting to see, maybe we'll see more of that, that she'll remember more of what happened while she was under that spell. Because I'm curious what exactly was supposedly happened to her son, Nicholas Scratch. And, it could easily be that, because there's no husband, no Ralph Boner, no husband, so maybe, there was a divorce involved or something, I don't know. But, so she finds Senor Scratchy, her rabbit, and she mentions how that witch took every bit of power that I had. but I'm going to get it back. Because, of course, when she was Agnes, when Billy was talking about her road, which I don't know why he phrased it like that, because what the hell? But, I mean, I guess he assumed that she knew, which tells me that he wasn't working with Rio, that he was genuinely confused as to what's happening. Why Agatha is acting the way she does. So, but between the two of them, she realizes that she's Agatha Harkness. So she runs to Herb and asks him what's happening. And he tells her she's been there 3 years and she's just freaking out. And that's when we find out that Dottie and the police chief are living next door, that they're a couple. And she's like, oh, librarian and the police chief. Okay. So she realizes Billy is not a figment of her imagination. Then Rio comes out and she's trying to kill Agnes. Well, Agatha. Agatha is trying to convince her that wouldn't she rather wait till she's at her full power? Wouldn't it be more satisfying to kill her when she's not defenseless? And so we find out she's not actually a member of the Salem 7. Because she actually said that the Salem 7 are trying to kill her. Also, because Rio wants her dead because of her use of dark magic. So I'm going to say she's not a part of the Salem 7. She's her own agent. You know, she wants to kill Agatha for her own reasons. Now, I still get the suspicion that they were in a relationship. And it's not because she calls her honey. I mean, I have friends who call me that. So, yeah. Nothing to do with that. It just gives me it just makes me think that there was a prior relationship, and I mean a romantic relationship between the two. And the way Rio kind of suggested that this was kind of a kink that she was doing, and then licked her hand, it was just bizarre. And so she leaves, and then she turns her attention back to Billy. So I assume episode 2 is going to pick up with her like I said, she went and found Senor Scratchy. I'm sure she's going to now go back to Billy and find out what the hell is going on. Probably put on some actual clothes instead of a robe. So yeah, so this is how she's going to realize she has to go down the witch's road. Billy wants to go down the witch's road, whether it's because he wants to resurrect Wanda, which would be... Actually, I was going to say that would be at odds with what Agatha wants, but actually, considering that Wanda's the reason that spell was cast, and her death prevented her from getting out of that spell, maybe they both want to get to Wanda. Or maybe Billy has no understanding of Wanda. Maybe he doesn't know who Wanda is. He just knows that he needs to go down the witch's road. Whether it's because he thinks he's going to find Wanda, or he wants to know, well, my parents don't have powers and I do. So, you know, maybe he knows he's adopted and he wants to find his birth mother and he figures it's a witch. So if anyone can help him, it would be going down the witch's road, or maybe even Agatha. So yeah, I think I've covered this episode as much as I can. I'm glad that this only happened through one episode, because the constant going from clip scene to clip scene, I mean, it wasn't even good editing, was driving me batty. So, yeah. So yeah, I think that's all I have for this episode. And I will be back with the next review, with episode 2, when after I watch episode 2, which is going to be momentarily. So I will stop blabbering, and I will see you guys in the next video.